that you can see it. Fab. So I'll jump in. So I'm Emma. Thank you for joining. Today we're launching into the Touch Day Host and Owner Insights report. This report came out very recently, and I'll be running through kind of the top 5 things, some of the key findings that came from this report as a flavor and a bit of an indication for some things you can do to take action now based on the insights from this report. There's a link for you to download the report at the end. So don't worry if you don't have a copy of this report yet, you'll be able to download your own copy as we go. There's lots more in the report, loads of fantastic information. So if you are thinking, oh gosh, what should, I don't want to miss something, don't worry, you'll be able to download the report and read it in your free time. It's free to download, by the way, in case you were wondering. And it's just absolutely full of really useful information. And the goal of this webinar is to really take that information, break down the most important insights and things that we've learned, and give you some very actionable, easy things you can do to put this data and these insights into the real world. So let's dive in. Excuse me. Alrighty. Oh my goodness, here we are. What is the Host and Owner Insights report? So, great question. What is this report and where do these findings come from? So, we've gathered research from hosts and owners from all over the world. So, folks running, operating short-term rental businesses. It was just over 1,300 hosts. So, a really good cross-section and good volume of people to give us some really good baseline insights. And they were answering questions about the challenges they face as professional hosts and as owners running their businesses. Today, I'm just going to refer to the recipients as hosts for ease. So if you're thinking, oh, does she mean host? Does she mean owner? What is she talking about? Property managers? I'm all of the above. But I'm just going to use the word host for ease and speed. And from this report, we really found some really important key metrics and data points that really explain the state of the market right now and what the reality looks like for professional hosts, and of course, what that means for you and your short-term rental business. So what we will cover, there's 5 main areas. So navigating the peak market saturation, the level of competition that the market is currently operating in, then going into the guest experience gaps, we call it, talking all about guest experience. Then the hidden revenue of repeat guests and why having repeat guests, not just one-time guests, is important. And talking about some automation and time savings and efficiencies, and then just how you grow in this very maturing market. So first, who are these hosts, today's hosts? Who are these folks that we spoke to? So, and what are some of the key findings that we found from them? So, from the people who we surveyed and gave us their insights for this report, 45% of their bookings are coming from the big OTA sites. So, just over half, or just around half, is direct, and then a really big part of that mix is around 45% is coming from the OTAs. 70% of the hosts are managing 1 to 5 properties. So we're not talking massive, not these really big property management businesses with hundreds and thousands of properties. 70% have 1 to 5 properties, although there are a number in here in the other 30% that do have far more, up to that, into the early hundreds. So definitely people who are talking about scale understand that this is a very professional, demanding business, and not necessarily folks who are just running things as a side hustle. Although if you are running things and you're in that stage with your first property, there's some really important insights in here for you too. This is just a really nice cross-section of the reality of the market. And the number one commonality that all of our hosts have cited as the number one challenge is consistent bookings. So 65% are struggling with getting those consistent bookings and keeping their occupancy consistent. So there's just a little bit of a state of who these folks are, and some of the challenges and things that are relevant to them. And something else that I wanted to share, we pulled some really nice data on how the businesses of these hosts are performing. And so what we've done here, we've pulled out 4 of the top the top metrics. And then we've got our average, the typical range for the people who are included in this report, and then the top performance, because there's a real interesting split and a few things that are really useful in terms of what can really help make the difference in the performance of your business when it's, when you go the extra mile or tweak up a few things. So looking at occupancies, occupancy is how often the property is occupied, just that pure occupancy, how many nights it is booked. So the typical range is between that 50 to almost 70%. Top performers, it's 80%. Average nightly rate, so that's the average amount that is charged per night at a property. The typical range is almost up to that $200, and this has all been averaged in dollars for ease. And top performers, there over again, it's 250 or 250 plus. And then two things that I thought were really interesting and are really relevant to a lot of what Touch Day can help your businesses with. Number one is that repeat guest rate. So the typical range is, that up to 10% of hosts are getting guests to not just book once, but to book again and to build loyalty with them. But for the top performing guests, that can be up to 50%. And we're going to really dig into why having repeat guests is important and what that can mean from revenue and for your business. But I thought it was really interesting to highlight just, that's a really significant gap from that, up to 10% to up to 50. That's a really different type of guest profile and a different way of operating your business and your kind of your channel mix that you're relying on. So we'll dig into that in more detail. And then the last one was the weekly time investment. So that means how much time is being invested in essentially guest management, managing your guests, the communication with them, check in, check out, all that jazz. But mostly that communication piece with the guests. So for that typical host, it's around 6 to 10 hours a week, that's a lot of hours in managing your guests. And then for the top performers, some of them have got that down to 1 hour. And it goes between 1 to 5. So the huge time saving there. And there's some real nice insights here that I'm going to share around how if you're feeling like you're in the 6 to 10 hours, how you can hopefully get towards the 1 to 5 instead. So that's a bit of a setting, a foundation on how these businesses are performing from a data perspective. So we're starting off with peak market saturation. So at the moment, and you may have felt this, there is a lot more listings and a lot more competition. And this is globally, no matter where you are in the world. Certainly within the last 2 years, the sheer amount of competition that has proliferated throughout the market and the number of additional listings on the market has really increased. So that's what we mean when we say market saturation. So more listings, more competition. And the other piece here as well is while there is more on the market and more choice for guests to choose from, guests are also feeling more of a financial squeeze. And this is true whether in the US, you're in the UK, wherever your guests are coming in from throughout Europe, wherever they may be, people have less money in their pockets. And so when they're making the choice about which holidays to book, they're potentially booking shorter trips. They're putting off booking that trip and waiting for the last minute better deals. So that means less money in the pockets for hosts. So there's more listings, there's more competition, there's less nights from guests to go around. And we have two quotes here from folks who were in our survey, combining together that the competition has really, really increased in terms of volume, and it's that economic piece, that cost of living piece as well, that combining together, making things a bit tricky. And we go back to that statistic that 65% of hosts cite that getting those consistent bookings as their number one challenge. So this is across the board, impacting everybody. So if you're feeling like, oh, it's harder than it was last year or the year before, that's because it is. So how you're feeling about that is really being reflected in the data. So what can you do when it comes to competition? So number one thing that's really important when it comes to understanding competition, understanding the market, well, there are two things really. The best thing you can do first is to look at your own business. So how are you performing? And one of the recommendations here is to mystery shop your listings. So what does that mean? It's a fantastic idea, and we've heard this from multiple hosts at different conferences, and when I've been chatting to folks over the years, that they often send people from their operations team and their families to go and stay in their properties for a weekend, whether that's an old property or a new property, something new to their portfolio. or just asking your friends and family to go stay for a weekend in one of your places, or even going and doing it for yourself. And because this really puts you in the shoes of the guest and lets you look at your listings. So your listings on your direct booking website, or if it's on Airbnb, booking.com, the OTAs, online travel agents, the OTAs. If you put yourself in your guest's shoes, you're able to see the things that you think could be improved. Is it your photos that need to be better? Are you missing amenities off your listings? Are you missing out talking about things about your property that are the really unique selling points that make people want to come along? So number one, take a look in the mirror, see what can be improved. It's always a fantastic place to start. There's always something that you can make improvements on, whether it's physically around your properties, whether it's how you're communicating with guests, where guests might get stuck in that booking flow. It's really useful to put yourself in the guest's shoes, have that experience for yourself, and see where things need tuning up. And you can do that tomorrow. It doesn't require a huge amount of time to be able to just start giving this a go. You can literally go onto your Airbnb listing right now, sipping your cup of tea or coffee, and pretend you're the guest and see what you would like to improve. The next is look at your competitors. So first, after you've looked in the mirror, it's best to look outwards. So what are your competitors doing? What do competitor listings look like? How are they marketing themselves to your customers or people you would like to become your customers? What are the stories that they are telling? And how are they growing their market share? There may be things they're doing that you're not doing as well, or that you're not doing at all. And it's always good to look at the market and see what's happening there, and to maybe get some inspiration for things that you can also do. So it's once you've had a look inwards, looking outwards. And you'll see on the right-hand side of the screen here, talking about looking at competitors and looking at the market. So Sally, who is in the lovely photo here, Sally is a friend of TouchStay, and Sally is from Key Data. And Key Data is a wonderful partner of TouchStay. We did a webinar with them a couple of months ago. Sally was talking about data and the importance of knowing what's actually happening in your market and knowing what your competitors are doing. So going beyond their listings and actually looking at the hard data. If you haven't used key data before, or you're kind of new to data and the different key metrics that can help you make really smart business decisions and tune up what you're doing, and that's around competitor analysis, market analysis, and even your pricing, check them out. They're a wonderful partner, and Sally's always follow Sally on LinkedIn. She's always got really fantastic insights to share about the UK market and about the US as well. So I highly recommend checking out Key Data. Sally is lovely, friend of TouchStay. And coming back to pricing, so very often, especially if you're new as a host, you just think, I'm going to set my prices and this is what they're going to be. And that obviously doesn't take into account seasonality. I'm sure no one here is just putting up one price and that's their price forever. If you are, please do tell me. I'd love to know how that's working, because, of course, every business is different, and there are a million different pricing strategies that you can take. But generally speaking, set it and forget it when it comes to your pricing is not a smart way to respond to a very volatile and changing market. And again, data is very helpful to help you know the specifics on this in terms of how you should be pricing to hold your position in the market. So looking at your pricing and understanding, are you competitive based on your local area? Are you competitive for the type of property? Knowing where your guests are coming from and how much, are they traveling in from far away? Are they close by? What kind of pricing would they be expecting? And just doing a really nice price analysis exercise. Easter is coming up in the well, all over the world, but in the UK, we're just coming out of half term, February half term, and Easter is around the corner. So people are thinking about making their bookings. So this is a really great time to look at your pricing. And if you are thinking, I'm not getting that many bookings, I'm really worried, take some time to think when you should hold your nerve on pricing, when you should keep prices higher, or when you should start to drop them, and really make sure that you're getting the most you can out of every nightly rate that you set. And finally, tell your story and make a connection. A lot of what we talk about in these webinars is often around your tech stack and how you're connected to things and automating everything. But telling your story and talking to guests on a very human level and explaining why they should come and spend their very precious holiday time with you everyone loves a story. We're humans speaking to humans and offering your services to humans. So don't discount the importance of storytelling when it comes to your brand, how you present your brand visually, and the language that you use to talk about your business. It can be very powerful. Guests book holidays because they want to do something with their friends, with their family, or go away by themselves, whatever it may be. And that's an emotional decision. So connecting with people in an emotional way is a smart business choice. Lovely. So I'm just going to take a sip of water. Talking too much as usual. So what's up next? So the guest experience gap. So we talk a lot about guest experience at TouchStay. It's what digital guidebooks are all about. We're all about making sure guests have a great time and it makes it easy for you to do it. So in the context of guest experience, I think we've zoomed in on here in this report is the importance of 5-star ratings and how getting those 5-star ratings can really make the difference when it comes to playing with the algorithms, with the OTAs, and on Google as well. So that's your visibility and how future guests are able to find you. So in a report that we've done previously, the guest experience report, and that's the statistics you have here on the left, we knew that more than a fifth of guests were missing information, not a great experience. 69% of guests said that communication influenced the likelihood of their leaving a positive review. So very strong correlation between reviews and how guests feel the level of communication has been appropriate for what they were expecting. And less than half of guests felt very well looked after. Again, coming back to that feeling, how guests are feeling in the context of getting 5-star reviews, this is really, really important because if a guest has had an okay time, they might not leave a review. If they've had a spectacular time, they're most likely going to leave you that 5-star review. If they've had a bad time or their experiences hasn't quite met their expectations, you're probably going to get a neutral or a negative review. And when it comes to the algorithms, we all know and love the algorithms with the OTAs and all the platforms that we're using. It's really important to get that social proof and those positive reviews. So what can really be done about this? So of course, digital guidebook is your advantage here. Guests really want to feel, as I've said, they want to feel taken care of, they want to feel looked after. But as people operating and running a very busy business, you don't always have the time to help guests feel that way that they're being looked after. And this is why TouchStay was invented, and this is why it's so wonderful to have a digital guidebook. Because with your TouchStay digital guide, you're able to put all of the information that guests need and expecting in one place. And not just the information that guests are expecting, but going beyond those expectations. Having an interactive map where they can click around and find all of your wonderful hidden gems and local recommendations. All the information about how they manage different facilities within the property so they don't have to ask questions. The Wi-Fi code, it's right there in the guide. You know, all of these things that take a lot of time for you as a host to answer these questions and things that guests just want to know when they think of it. It's all there within your TouchStay guide. And beyond having it there in this very lovely kind of concierge that they have in their pocket in the TouchStay, the app within the guide, you can use automations within the TouchStay platform to ping different information and different messages to guests at different times. So, for example, you can send an automated message to them based on their arrival date and time, saying, hey, here's the Wi-Fi code, or here's the check-in instructions, here's the Wi-Fi code. Because I guarantee that around 70% of the questions you probably get from guests are, what is the Wi-Fi code and how do I check in? So you can set this stuff up to answer those questions with guests at the right time, but without them ever having to ask. And you're automating it so you're not having to kind of manually go in and send out this information to your guests. You can use your guide to really be a concierge and make guests feel great, but also kind of take a lot of that manual work off your plate. And then there's the first impressions topic that exists within the guide. So you can get immediate feedback from guests when they arrive at your property to check in within that first 24 hours, that very important time, and make sure everything's okay. And I know it's not very scalable and maybe not very popular, but picking up the phone, you obviously can't do this with every single guest, depending on how many guests you're welcoming at a time. But the humble phone call is extremely powerful. Guests that get a phone call, have you got everything you need? Is there anything missing from the property? Are you all settled? Are you feeling fine? Yes, great, thank you. It's not a big deal. It can take 5 minutes, but it can make guests feel really, well taken care of, especially if your guests run a little older in demographic. Young people don't like picking up the phone, but if you've got us older millennials and beyond on there, we will pick up the phone. So just another recommendation there. So why are higher ratings important? Kind of closing the circle on this. High ratings are important because they get you more visibility, whether that's on your direct booking site or on one of the OTA platforms. Better visibility means more bookings. More bookings you get, and you're able to get higher occupancy and you're able to get higher rates. So it's a nice virtuous cycle to pay attention to. So have a look at your ratings, see how they're doing, see if you've got areas that you can be making improvements, and use your guidebooks as a way to help you level up. Lovely. So next is unlocking the hidden revenue of repeat guests. So a super interesting insight that I pulled from the report here is that around 51% of hosts only have about 10% of repeat guests. So remember, that's the average. So up to 10% of repeat guests. The top performers have up to 50%, but we're just focusing on kind of generally the average now of this 51% only having 10% of repeat guests. That's a really small amount. And then when you compare this to, it's around 5 to 7 times more expensive to acquire a new guest than it is to get a repeat booking. So that's really expensive. That's a lot of time. That's potentially a financial investment to get a guest that's new to you every time. And if you've only got 10% of your guests that are repeats, that's a lot of work. Like just that there in itself is giving me anxiety. That's a lot of work to constantly be going out and finding new guests. And so this is why repeat guests, it's far more efficient financially in terms of acquiring those guests. And there are other reasons I'll come to in a moment, but we want repeat guests. Repeat guests typically pay more, and if they're booking direct, they'll be paying more potentially through your direct site. They potentially book earlier as well. Repeat guests generally book much further in advance. And they also promote your business to their friends and family. They talk about you. Guests love to talk about where they're going on holiday and, oh man, you've got to try this place. It's fantastic. We go every summer. Again, it's another virtuous cycle to get into. So when we talk about repeat guests, we're also talking about direct bookings because guests that book with you repeatedly, typically, if they've booked first time on one of the platforms like Airbnb or Booking, potentially they will book with you directly the next time because they may have met you, they've come to your properties, they know your branding, they've learnt about you, and they're able to book directly with you. And when these are your guests, your margins get even healthier. So I'm going to assume that most people on this call, on this webinar, do have a direct booking website. Potentially you don't. If you don't, look into it. But if you do, and I am going to make an assumption here, do feel free to correct me in the Q&A. I'm happy to be wrong. But generally speaking, a lot of professional hosts have their own direct booking site. So if you already have a direct booking site, it's time to optimize. Are your listings looking great? Is the information complete? What is the booking flow like? Can a guests getting stuck and kind of losing their intent, getting frustrated and going elsewhere? And what are you doing to remove friction in the booking process so it's easy? So guests, it doesn't matter that, Airbnb might make it easy, you make it easy too. And you've already developed a relationship with these guests. And so they're going to be loyal to you. Another thing you can do is offer a more competitive prices and special offers on your direct site only. So potentially when you have shorter gaps of time, you can make special offers to fill up some of these unoccupied nights, and you can offer that to people you've already spoken to, who are on your mailing list, who've already been to stay with you. There are experiences and add-ons with local businesses that you can also offer directly and advertise on your booking site as well. These aren't always possible to offer with the OTAs. You have a lot more flexibility if you're doing it yourself. And guests really care about experiences. We talk a lot at the moment around add-ons and experiences. I'm doing a webinar on that, I think, next month or in a couple of weeks around how TouchStay can help you deliver better experiences and add-ons to your guests. And this is because guests want more than just their basic holiday and a roof over their head now. Guests want to really, as I said, have that wonderful feeling to leave their holiday feeling like they've had some special moments. And offering different types of experiences to them is a great way of helping make them more loyal and make that nice, strong connection with you. And you can also, as I mentioned before, position your digital guidebooks as that personal concierge. So reach out to the guest. Thank you so much for booking. Here's the link to your unique personalized guidebook, and you can personalize your Touch Day guidebook. It's not so difficult. And so you can say to your guests, hey, you don't have to flip through any manuals. You don't have to be searching for information or calling us or scrambling around. Everything you need is already here in this beautiful, very easy to use app that just lives on your phone. You don't even need Wi-Fi once you've got it saved onto your phone. Everything that you need is just right there at the touch of a button. So if you are using TouchStay already, go back, look at your guides, look at how you're positioning them to your guests. When you're sending the link, are you burying that link in an email, or are you kind of presenting it to them as this very polished, professional, additional service that you're offering to them once they've made their booking? So definitely go back and look at your guides. And if you don't have a TouchStay digital guidebook, what are you waiting for? Super. And then another point on direct bookings that I must make, and here we have, if any, another friend of TouchStay, if any of you don't know Mark Simpson of Boostly. Mark is the king of direct bookings. You can see from his delightful little crown here that I've given him. Sorry, Mark. But Mark did a webinar with us a couple of months ago as well around the importance of direct bookings and growing your direct business and having that healthy amount of direct bookings within your channel mix. And when we talk about channel mix, we're talking about all of the different channels in which a guest will make a booking with you. So they find you through Google, they go through your direct booking website, Airbnb, Booking, Vrbo, or any other type of OTA that you're working with. So that's what we mean when we talk about your channel mix. So direct bookings, Mark will always tell us, help you maintain the highest revenue per booking despite declining market share. So Airbnb and all of the others are every year they are growing their market share, and it's different in different markets. It's a little bit higher in the US than it is in the UK, for example, but they are increasing market share. And yet, even though they are growing, the property managers, the hosts that really prioritize their direct booking channel are still growing their revenue because you're able to charge more per booking because guests are loyal, they're coming back to you. They don't mind paying a little bit more because they're able to get that better service from you directly and they know what they're getting. So even though market share is declining overall and occupancy may be down on all of these factors I've already mentioned, it's still possible to utilize your direct bookings channel to keep increasing your revenue, or at least be keeping it stable through more turbulent times in the market. So this is why I'm still talking about direct bookings. So you can typically get higher daily rates than you can with the OTAs. Typically, guests will book longer stays. So if someone's looking to book their long Easter holiday, they want to stay away for 2 weeks, it's the whole family, or it's just them staying in a nice new area, you can get these much nicer, longer stays, which is really lovely for you to get booked up and have that occupancy taken care of. You also are able to extend booking windows. So what I kind of mean there, typically guests that are booking direct with you will book much further in advance. So again, that's better predictability for you, knowing that you've already got your summer partly booked up from your direct booking guests, where the folks booking on the OTAs might only book with you maybe 6 weeks or a month or even less in advance. Of course, you don't have to pay any commission. There's no OTA commission to pay here, so that's healthy and nice for your margins. And when guests book with you directly, you are connecting with them directly. They're not an Airbnb guest or a Booking.com guest, they're your guest. And you're able to really enhance the relationship that you have with them because you're in control of that relationship and that communication. This helps with more repeat bookings, this helps with upsellings and all of those lovely things. So if you're interested in learning even more practical things around direct bookings, if you already have a direct booking business, but maybe you want to tune things up a little bit and see what else you can learn, I highly recommend following Mark on LinkedIn. He's super interesting and he's always sharing super practical wisdom. He is the king of direct, so go check him out if you're looking for resources or information. There's a lot of great stuff out there, some great educational content. Lovely. So finally, excuse me, we've come to the hidden time cost rather of guest management. So one of the things I talked about right at the beginning was the average host rather, they've got that between 6 to 10 hours that they're spending on guest management in weekly hours. And then for the top performing hosts, they'd really got that down between 1 and 5 hours. Super efficient. So what is this time? What is this time being sucked into, and how are ways that we can get some of this time back? So a lot of this time, when we're referring to guest management, comes on communicating with guests. It's preparing guests, making sure they have all the information that they need, and generally taking care of all of their needs post-booking, pre-booking. Um, oh, yeah, that's the same thing. So post making the booking, just before their arrival, then when they're with you during the holiday, and then once they've left as well. So throughout that guest experience journey, the lifetime journey of that guest on that visit, it's a lot of hours that are being taken up. And the more properties you have and the more guests you have coming, this is just taking up a lot of time. So how can you get some of your time back? Great question. Excuse me. So one of the best things you can do is, as I've already mentioned, is utilizing your digital guidebook. So automate sharing the answers to those most frequently asked questions with the automations that you have within the guidebook. So with Memo, our messaging platform, it's built in and it's available with your TouchStay subscription. So this makes it possible for you to, based on the arrival dates that the guest has and even their booking date, you can automatically send the guidebook link to them. You can send text messages to them also, as well as notifications that will pop up in the TouchStay guide in the app when they have it. This is the Wi-Fi code, in case you're wondering, or there are fresh towels in the cupboard behind the stairs, whatever it may be, just these nice little breadcrumbs of communication that you can drop to guests that you can fully automate. So you don't even have to think about it. This is very much a set it and forget it kind of thing. And it's just a great way of getting your time back and not having to constantly be answering the phone, responding to things on WhatsApp, and knowing that your guests are feeling taken care of. And within the TouchStay guidebooks, two new things that came out last year. One is the AI chatbot. So the AI chatbot is a little chat agent that exists within the TouchStay guidebook that your guests can use to self-serve, getting answers to questions that they ask with you. So this is super helpful, and it doesn't just randomly give answers. It's not hallucinating. The chatbot is trained on the information within your guidebook, so it's not going to make things up. So it can't just give like a fake Wi-Fi code, for example. It will pull from the information that's within your guide. So essentially, you have this other layer of functionality that the guest can interact with the guidebook, ask questions of it, and the information that's already there, instead of them having to search, the answer they need is immediately surfaced for them. It's free and included in your subscription. If you don't have this turned on, turn it on. It's really fantastic, and it's just why would you not use this lovely free way of getting automation and letting guests self-serve? And then another thing you can do is you can connect your guidebook to your PMS, so your property management software, for even more automation. So when you link your PMS to TouchStay, you can automate the sending of your guidebook links for every single reservation. So the guests are going to get that guidebook link in the communication flows that you've already got set up within the unified inbox of your PMS. We have, I think, almost 20, no, gosh, more now, PMS integrations. So we are probably integrated with your PMS. Do check the website to find out, or you can ask me in here and I'll do my best to answer. This is another way of not just the guest-facing automation, but things you can do to speed things up operationally on your side as well. So that lovely back office stuff. So there's lots that can be done with a TouchStay guidebook to help you get your time back. Make sure that guests are happy and feeling the love, but not making it too operationally challenging for you to manage. So there we are. I have, as usual, talking very fast. If anyone wants to download the report and dive into this themselves, there's way more in there than what I've been able to cover so far today. So the QR code on the left will take you to the download to get your own guidebook. So guidebook to get your own report. So I highly recommend downloading that and having a good read through. You can tell me where I've been inaccurate, where I've made an error, or it'll prompt you to give you just some really practical ideas that you can put into place today, tomorrow, when you're thinking about how you can enhance some of these things for your own business. And if you're brand new to TouchStay and you've never used TouchStay before and you're very keen, the QR code on the right-hand side, if you scan that, you can use our guidebook generator to create your first guide in 60 seconds. So another time-saving, another time-saving hack and a great way to see if TouchStay is indeed for you. So I'll just give you a second with those QR codes before I stop screen sharing and I will start diving into your questions. So yeah, 5 more seconds. I'll take a sip of water, scan away, and then I'll get to the Q&A. Oh, much better. Okay, lovely. So I'm going to stop sharing. Fantastic. Let's have a look at all the questions in the Q&A. It's quite a lot. So, dum 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 dum. I'm going back up to the top. Lovely. What is my opinion on the hospitable pricing versus dynamic pricing like price slabs? Um, that's a really good question. I haven't used either of those products myself. I haven't used Hospitable's pricing product, but a lot of the PMS platforms have a pricing solution now built into their product. And I would say if it's there and available within your PMS, and it's already linked to your listings and your historical data, that surely is a great place to start when it comes to pricing management. I don't know if the pricing product with Hospitable has that dynamic element where it will adjust prices for you. Price Labs is a very good solution when it comes to dynamic pricing. So kind of setting rules and parameters and allowing your prices to fluctuate based on demand and various other metrics. I would say before I personally would jump into going into one or the other or really changing up my pricing strategy, I would first want to look at the data of my business. So what is my historic pricing looking like? What is my occupancy? What are my average daily weights? What's my RevPAR? What are all these really important metrics that I need to be looking at to understand my business? If you've already done that and you really understand your pricing strategy and how it has been working, then it's just about implementing a tech solution that works for you. If you don't feel very confident that you really deeply understand your pricing and kind of what the market is doing for pricing, I would recommend, again, checking out key data. It's just so much information and really relevant, actionable data points that can really help you actually make the right choice in terms of how you're going to manage your pricing and which approach is the right for you. So that's my opinion on that one. Um, Next question. I have a QR code by the front door for the guest to scan for the TouchStay guide, but hardly anyone uses it. What are the best ways to get the guest to use the guide? This is the age-old question. So having the QR code by the door is super, super useful. Having them in other places is also really handy. For example, if you have a coffee machine in the kitchen and you can have a little printout, it's like, not sure how to use the coffee machine. Like if it's just one of those one button press, fine. But if you've got, like, for example, a more complicated coffee machine or a complicated washing machine or any amenity really, having a little, like in the coffee machine example, having another QR code there, not sure how to use the coffee machine, and you can set a QR code to link to that specific part of your guide that has the information. Likewise, next to the Wi-Fi router, or having a QR code where the title is, it's not saying download the guide, but it's saying here's the Wi-Fi information and linking directly to the Wi-Fi password topic within the guidebook. That gets people into your guide. It's a great way to get them starting to click around. The best way to get guides to guests to open your guides is to send the link to them at multiple points post booking. So once they've made the booking, following up before they arrive. There are different ways you can automate that through the PMS integrations with TouchStay. And of course, based on how you're communicating with guests, you can drop that into your communication flow. You have to tell people to do something multiple times in order to get them to do it. That is the reality of the modern busy world that we live in. We all have the best intentions, and I'm sure guests want all of this information, but they're so focused on other things. Repetition is your absolute superpower when it comes to encouraging certain guest behaviors, whether that's opening the guide, whether that's making sure they lock up properly, whatever it may be. Repetition. Don't worry. I think it's something like you have to say something 7 times to a person that you're marketing to get them to take action. Like, it's really hard to get people to do things, but if you're consistent and you're repeating yourself and using those QR codes, normally that does work really well as a strategy. Um, Point, yes, a recording will be shared straight after, don't worry. Or very shortly after for anyone that wasn't here from the beginning, don't worry. In the past, I was able to look at my Touchday guidebook and see how many pages my guests had clicked on after being invited. Is that feature still available? Yes, that feature is well, it's in two places. So we have the data dashboard within Touchday where you can go in and see a host of performance metrics about your guides, where guests are clicking, how many guests are clicking, how many unique views you're getting versus the volume of overall guests going in. So that is still there. If you want to see specific guests and understanding if like down to the reservation level, if the guest assigned to each reservation has opened your guidebook, if you're connected to a PMS, that also shows up within TouchDay as well. So TouchDay kind of moved things around in the UI in the where everything is put. Last year we have a much more user-friendly UI as we call it. So have a poke around. It should be there under data dashboard. It should all be there available to you. If you're having any issues, Steve, pop a note to whoever you've contacted previously at TouchDay, or to support@touchday.com, and we'll help you figure that out. Another question here. With OTAs blocking guest contact information, especially Airbnb, how do we communicate with the guest earlier? I've been asking in their message thread from it. Yeah, this has been really tricky. We did a webinar on this, specifically on this and how to stay in touch with your guests, because even now the phone numbers are being taken away as well. So that's a whole topic within itself. So if you go back onto our YouTube channel and look for that webinar, we go into full details on what to do around making sure you're compliant with Airbnb policies, and the other OTA policies, but especially Airbnb, making sure that you are able to communicate with the guests, but that you are being compliant and not breaking any policies. We don't want to break any rules, but we do still want to get important information to guests. What is the best way to get the repeat guest and get them to my direct booking site? Again, that is a whole, that is a big old topic. In terms of repeat guests and getting them over to your site, there's lots you can do around the indexing of your web page in Google. If you're running ads, so you want to be getting that organic traffic in by having all the right keywords and being SEO, search engine optimized for your website. You can also pay to direct traffic to your site as well with Google Ads. It's a very classic way of doing it. And then marketing, kind of more pure marketing. So how are you communicating with your guests? How are you helping them discover you? Are you on Instagram? Are you on the dreaded TikTok? Like, where are your guests? Where are they looking when they're thinking about their holidays? Where are they searching? Where are they getting their inspiration? Are you there? Are they on Pinterest? Are they, where thinking about who your guest is, how the people have discovered you in the past, and making sure you're there and visible. That's a great way of connecting with the guest. How you get them to come back is by making sure they have an amazing time. And I think I've covered off a lot of those points, but I'm sure as a host, you kind of know the really great ways to get guests to come back because you show them a lovely time. But when it comes to repeat bookings, do check out Mark Simpson at Boostly. He's got loads of great educational resources on his website, and that can give you some really good actionable things you can do as well. Airbnb makes it impossible in the States. That is a statement, not a question. But yes, it is tricky. We did a couple of webinars on a lot of the new policies from Airbnb last year. I recommend going to check those out. Things have definitely changed. It may feel impossible, but there are ways to get around things. But yes, it's definitely a lot trickier than it has been, and getting more so each time they release a new update. So I feel you, James. I think everyone is feeling the pinch from that. Okay, a few more questions. How are we doing? How are we doing? Already. We opened our first STR in June of last year. We've had a direct booking website since day one. Despite telling me that they had a great time, they'll come back. I've yet to have one guest return and book on our direct site. Is it too early to expect results? Excuse me. I am not the direct booking expert. I would definitely go to Mark Simpson for that one. The good news is that you're getting guests and they are booking through your direct site. There could be a million reasons why a guest isn't coming back. They may not be taking that holiday, they may be going somewhere else. I would ask them. I mean, the best thing you can always do, and I think a lot of us are afraid to do this, is to ask for honest feedback and not just, sending a survey or do you have time to leave a review, but actually saying, hey, would you like to share some feedback? Another thing that I would say, if you don't really want to have to pick up the phone and speak to anyone or send them an email, are you communicating with your guests once they have left? Are you reminding them and helping keep your business top of mind when they have left? So they've had their summer holiday with you, they've been at your property for 2 weeks, had an amazing time, they loved it, but then they return to their busy lives. And for the next 12 months before they go on their next holiday or however long it would be, they're being tempted away by other properties, by other marketing, by other really interesting businesses that are also marketing to them. So I would say, are you staying in touch with that guest after they have left? Um, there's a really wonderful person who's done a whole book on this, Daniela Derin. Her book is all about WhatsApp business, and something around 70% or more of their guests are repeat guests, and they come back every single year because Daniela is like obsessed with using WhatsApp business for constant communication and for breadcrumbing throughout the year. This is our destination. Look how sunny it is here today. Just keeping your property top of mind with the guest, it's super important. If your guest leaves and you never speak to them again and expect them to come back, even if they had the best time and absolutely loved where you were, there's so much tempting them to go somewhere else. You really have to work hard to stay top of mind. And it's not because you're necessarily doing anything wrong. This could just come down to communication and proactively keeping your business top of mind with the guest. Do you find that asking for guest details on email and number before they can access your guide is off-putting? Tim, are you referring to I think you're referring to the pop-up, I think, that asks for the guest details. I'm unsure. Maybe ask again just so I can make sure I'm answering your question properly because there's a lot in there around now about requesting guest phone numbers and email addresses because of Airbnb policies and all that jazz. So if you wouldn't mind rewording so I can answer correctly. Can we rename your AI buddy? I don't believe you can now, but that's a really nice point. And that would be really nice if you could. I will pass that on to the product team because that's a really useful kind of thing because you want the guests to be connecting with your business and it be your branding, so they don't just want a generically named AI. Thank you, Tim. I'll pass that on. Will the AI chatbot pull in information that is hidden until the guest checks in? I do believe, so in the Touch Day guides, we have a visibility feature where you can hide certain information. So it's only revealed to the guest between certain dates or other criteria that you can set. I think if something's hidden, then it won't be surfaced, but I'm not 100% certain. So let me take that. Actually, Jenny, the best thing to do is and Tim, same with you. If you can send an email to support@touchday.com, the support team will receive that request. Tim, I'll send yours on anyway because it's a lovely request. But Jenny, just to clarify, I believe that's the case, but I'm not 100% certain. If you pop an email to support@touchday.com, you'll get an answer so you can know for certain on that. We're getting there. We're doing well. I love all of these questions. So Airbnb does not love Touch Day in the States. Ooh, they do not want guests to communicate through the TS app. They are pretty much forced to communicate through their platform. This year, we're only able to use their platform. Well, again, if you go back to the webinar that we did specifically around this topic, we gave some really nice cheat sheets on the different types of communication that are in policy that are possible through the Touch Day guide, and there's still a lot you can do. So I highly recommend going and looking at that because whilst things are trickier, there are still ways to get around. Thank you for the feedback. Jenny loves the guides. So nice to hear that. Your guests love it too. That's nice. And someone else saying they love Touch Day, onboarded last week, and all linked automatically to Owner Res. Excellent. I love to hear this. Thank you. Do we have an integration with booking automation? I think we do. I think they were one of the new ones at the end of last year. It's all on our website on the integrations page, so you'll see there, but I think we do. Could I talk about the AI, if switched on, uses our client data? No. So this is a good question. So is our AI learning and taking a kind of information from guests, like client guest data. No. So what the AI chatbot does is it's pulling information that's within your touch stay guide that the guest can find themselves if they're searching. So they can use the search function, or because we're all lazy, we all want things surfaced easily. They can use the chatbot, and it's just cleverly pulling up the right information for the guest based on the question that they're asking. But it isn't learning your clients, your guest data is not being revealed to that. So it isn't linked. It's kept separate. So no need to worry there. But a great question to ask always around security and AI and what is and isn't shareable. Very important. We've already started a guidebook, but not yet finished. Can we use the AI tools to finish it and create one for a second property? I think you would have to start from scratch if it's for the one that you've already started working with. You can definitely use it for your second one. So give it a go. And if you've not got that far, but if you've already got quite far in creating your first guide, the guidebook generator isn't really your best friend in this scenario, I'm afraid. But you can play around with it if you want to just have a look and see how it works for you and what other information it might be presenting. But if you're already there, sorry, you've already probably made huge progress and it's already looking great. I've answered some of these already. What about instructions to use certain common appliances? Do I have to type them up or does the app help me create those from public sources? So the best thing to do, essentially no, because the AI chatbot is only using the information already within your guide. And we set that parameter because we don't really want it making things up and we don't want it giving inaccurate information to your guests. There's nothing worse than saying, oh, yes, absolutely, you can have late check-in, late checkout and blah, blah, blah. And actually you're not offering that, or even if you are, it's not linked to your booking system and you've created a huge mess. So we have to be very careful with the AI not to let it pull from external sources. So that information would have to be within the guide already for it to be surfaced to the guest. Whereabout do you find the AI switch on functionality? It should just be on the left-hand side when you log into TouchStay. Along the left, I'm not certain of the position, but it should be within the settings there. If you get stuck, just send an email to support@touchstay.com, or you can go to the website and click on in the top bar along the front, along the top where it says resources, go to knowledge base, and you can ask your question there, and it will tell you how to do it. Lovely. How are we doing for time? All right, I'm gonna have to cut us off. People asking about the YouTube channel, just go to YouTube and type in TouchStay or TouchStay guidebooks, and we'll come up, and you'll be able to find our channel. Lovely. Do, 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 do. Oh, is translation automatic on the app? There are two types of ways you can do translation within TouchStay. You can turn on our automatic translations, and guests can choose their language on the homepage. It's super. It pulls from Google Translate. It's pretty accurate. As good as Google Translate is. It's great, especially if you've got guests who need multiple languages. You can also add in manual translations. So if you know you always have guests, for example, you have guests coming from Germany and you don't trust Google Translate to really translate properly, you can manually put in your own translations, and then the guests can toggle and choose which language they see. More people asking about the Airbnb webinar. I think I'll get the TouchStay team to share this with everyone who's registered today, because a lot of people have asked about it and we went into so much detail there. So I'll ping that note over to them. Thank you all for joining. I really hope this has been helpful. Thank you all so much for your questions. There's so much everyone wants to know and wants to learn. We're doing our best. So come back in a couple of weeks. And the next one is about experiences and add-ons and generating more revenue for your guests through experiences with TouchStay guides and otherwise. So come back and join us for that one. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you being here with me this afternoon, this evening. Please enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye bye.